Welcome to this deep dive, where we're tackling a question that feels, well, incredibly vital right now. How on earth do you consistently save $500 every single month?
Especially, yeah, with today's high prices, soaring rent, and let's be honest, even that daily expensive coffee habit.
Yeah.
Our mission today really is to pull out the most actionable insights from a fantastic source we've been looking at, titled Advisor Insider. Save $500 monthly, even now.
Mm-hmm.
This guide makes a pretty compelling claim that achieving this kind of monthly saving is absolutely achievable. And we're here to lay out exactly how.
That's what we're aiming for. Think of this as your practical roadmap, understanding actionable financial strategies, taking real control of your money, and honestly, just feeling a bit more empowered.
Yeah.
So where does this journey to $500 actually begin?
It begins exactly where our source starts, with a really crucial mindset shift.
Okay.
So easy to feel overwhelmed, maybe think saving is only for people with huge incomes. But the core message here is that saving isn't really about how much you earn.
Right. It's about being intentional. And what I found so compelling is how this deep dive frames that intentionality. It's not just some vague idea.
No.
It breaks down into clear components, like rigorously tracking your money, setting small, achievable financial goals, and consciously, consistently building the habit of saving. It's less about a magic formula and more about, well, a series of deliberate choices.
Exactly. And the source doesn't just say be intentional. It kind of frames it as this quiet battle against what behavioral economists call present bias.
Ah, that tendency to want stuff now.
Precisely. Our natural tendency to prioritize immediate gratification over, future gains. Recognizing that bias is maybe the first step to truly owning your money, regardless of where you're starting from.
Okay, so once you've started shifting that mindset, this deep dive really unpacks practical ways to implement it, starting with understanding your own financial picture.
Yes. It paints a very typical scenario, using the example of a monthly income around, say, $3,500 after tax. And then it just lays bare where that money commonly disappears to.
And what's insightful there is how clearly they break down those common expenditures, often without judgment.
Right. For instance, they might note rent at around $1,200, groceries maybe $500.
That sounds familiar.
Car and gas eating up $400, and then subscriptions and entertainment often coming in at about $250.
And it keeps going, doesn't it? They highlight that eating out can easily account for $300,
Easily.
with random purchases adding another $200 or more on top of that. If you're listening, you're probably nodding along because these numbers feel, well, incredibly familiar for a lot of us.
And seeing those numbers laid out like that can feel a bit confronting, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But as our source wisely points out, it's not meant as a judgment. It's simply a map to opportunity. The goal here isn't, extreme frugality or living on ramen noodles forever.
Right. Not about deprivation.
No, it's about identifying areas where small, smart adjustments can unlock pretty significant savings.
Okay, so this is where it gets really actionable. Let's get into it. What does this all mean for actually finding that $500? This deep dive gives us a practical toolkit, right? 6 specific ways to make it happen, breaking down exactly how much you can free up with each step.
First up, and this is like a big one for many, is cutting your eating out budget in half. That alone can free up $150.
$150 just from eating out less.
Yeah. If you're spending, say, $300 on takeout or restaurant meals, which is pretty common, the advice is to bring that down to $150.
How?
By simply cooking at home maybe 3 nights a week instead of ordering in or going out.
Okay. That feels genuinely realistic, right?
Yeah.
Just 3 more home-cooked meals a week.
Totally doable for most people.
All right, what's next?
Next, it suggests a hard look at those streaming services and apps. Canceling or sharing subscriptions. This can free up another $50.
Ah, the subscriptions creep.
Exactly. Think about Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Disney Plus One, maybe gym apps, news subs. Do you really use them all regularly?
Probably not.
So the key is to cut the unused ones, or maybe share accounts with family or roommates if that's an option for you.
It's amazing how many of us sign up for a free trial and then just forget.
Oh, absolutely. And it just rolls into a paid subscription we barely use. The source really drives home the point that being intentional with these recurring small expenses truly adds up over time.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's eating out and subscriptions. What else?
Then there's driving smarter. This can yield about $50 in savings per month.
Driving smarter? How so?
Well, beyond just, using apps like Gas Buddy to find cheaper fuel, which helps the source emphasizes planning your errands more efficiently.
Like grouping trips together.
Exactly. Combining trips, maybe walking or biking for short errands if possible, and even simple stuff like maintaining proper tire pressure. Less driving, smarter driving means less gas, less wear and tear.
Yeah,
It all counts.
makes sense. Okay, number 4.
The fourth strategy, which offers a pretty solid $100 in potential savings, revolves around grocery hacks.
Ooh, I like grocery hacks.
Yeah, this is where a little upfront planning truly pays off. Making a list and actually sticking to it.
The sticking part is key.
It is. Consciously avoiding those tempting impulse buys at the checkout, using coupons or store loyalty programs, and even considering shopping at stores like Aldi or Walmart over maybe more premium alternatives. The price difference there can be quite significant over a month.
Now, making a list and sticking to it sounds simple, but how does this source suggest we actually combat those sneaky marketing tactics stores use? You know, the end cap displays, the stuff at eye level.
That's a great point. And the deep dive kind of indirectly addresses that by introducing the next strategy, limiting impulse buying. This is targeted to save about $75.
Okay, how do we limit those impulses?
Their specific tip is the 24-hour rule.
The 24-hour rule.
Yeah. If you see something you think you must buy, especially if it wasn't planned, just wait a full day, put it back, walk away. Often by the next morning, the urgency completely passes, and you realize you don't actually need it, or maybe not right now. It's a simple psychological trick, really. It leverages a cooling off period to let your rational brain catch up with maybe an emotional impulse.
That's brilliant. It's just creating a moment for reflection, isn't it?
Exactly. Okay, and finally, number 6. To really cement that $500 goal, they advise automating savings to free up another $75.
Automating, how does that work?
This is all about setting up an auto transfer. So maybe $75 right at the beginning of each month moves automatically from your checking account to a separate savings account.
Ah, pay yourself first.
Precisely. You treat it like a mandatory bill, like rent or your phone bill. It just happens.
And automating that $75 isn't just convenient, is it? There's more to it.
Oh, absolutely. It's a powerful behavioral hack.
Mm.
It removes the decision-making friction each month. Saving goes from being an effortful choice, something you have to remember to do, into an effortless habit.
Okay, let's recap those numbers.
Right, so you've got $150 from eating out less,
Yep.
$50 from subscriptions,
Got it.
$50 from smarter driving,
Okay.
$100 from grocery hacks,
Nice chunk there.
$75 from impulse control using that 24-hour rule,
Mm-hmm.
and $75 from automating savings. Add all those up.
And that's $500, right on the nose.
Exactly. It truly is surprisingly accessible when you break it down like that.
So we've mapped out the what and the how for the immediate savings, but, you know, making it stick long term, that's often the challenge. Does the source get into that, the psychology?
It does, yeah. Beyond the practical adjustments, the deep dive explores the deeper psychological aspect of sustained saving.
And what's the key insight there?
What's fascinating is the idea that saving is less about sacrifice and much more about prioritizing your future self.
Ooh, I like that framing. Explain that a bit more.
Well, instead of thinking, oh, I can't have that coffee, you reframe it as, I'm choosing to invest this money in a future where I don't have to worry so much about the price of coffee or whatever your goal is.
So it's not denial, it's a positive choice for future you.
Exactly. This reframing from sacrifice to prioritizing your future self is incredibly powerful for motivation. It changes the whole feeling around saving.
And to keep that motivation going, does it suggest rewards?
It does. It suggests setting a small, responsible reward for yourself once you consistently hit that $500 monthly savings goal. Nothing huge that undoes your progress, obviously.
Right, not buying a yacht.
No. But maybe, a slightly nicer meal out than usual or that book you've been wanting.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating the progress and reinforcing the positive habit. A small nod to your discipline.
That makes sense. Okay, so you're hitting the $500 mark consistently, you're feeling good about it. Now what? What do you do with that $500?
Great question. The source provides some really intelligent ways to utilize that money, making sure it continues to work for you, not just sit there.
So putting the savings to work, what are the top suggestions?
They lay out several smart moves. First, and often the most impactful, is paying down high-interest credit card debt.
Yeah, that interest is killer.
It really is. Getting rid of that can be a massive financial relief and save you a ton in the long run. Second, starting or growing an emergency fund.
Absolutely crucial. The unexpected always happens.
Always. Having that buffer provides huge peace of mind and financial security.
So debt and emergencies first. What about after that's handled?
And beyond that, They suggest looking into investing, maybe starting a Roth IRA, for example.
For retirement savings.
Yep, where your money can grow tax-free for retirement. Or even just putting it into a high-yield savings account, where your cash earns significantly more interest than it would in a standard bank account.
So it's about making your money make more money.
Essentially, yes.
Mm.
It's about moving from passively just having money to actively growing it. The source emphasizes this transformation from, money just sitting in your wallet or account to money with a purpose.
Money with a purpose. They call that power, right?
That's the term they use. Yeah, financial power, not necessarily in a rich sense, but in a control and option sense.
It really drives home that saving $500 a month.
Yeah,
Okay, it won't make you a millionaire overnight, that's true.
no quick fixes here.
But as this deep dive highlights, it will fundamentally change your financial habits forever. It's a complete shift in taking control, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that newfound sense of purpose for your money can be incredibly empowering. It's really not just about the numbers on a spreadsheet.
No.
It's about the discipline you build, the foresight, the self-belief you develop along the way.
So a final thought maybe for everyone listening to ponder.
Yeah, here's something to think about. How might viewing every single dollar you spend or every dollar you save as a
Yeah.
vote for your future self, how might that perspective alter your financial decisions going forward?